Hello, my name is Bonnie Burke and I work for Workforce Resource. Today's presentation is titled Working with a Diverse Workforce. It is a part of our Career Service webinar series. If you complete 5 of the workshops, you will be able to earn a certificate in career services. Please stay in touch with your job center and they can help you obtain that certificate if you have questions. You will have some handouts and note pages in front of you. I hope you can follow along and jot things down. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to see a Workforce Resource staff member. The things that I hope to accomplish with today's presentation is I want you to be able to demonstrate an understanding of what is diversity and what it is not. I hope to raise some awareness of diversity issues, and then also we'll be talking about stereotypes that go beyond race. Oftentimes when we think of diversity, we think of white and black. It's far more than race. I hope you'll have a brief understanding of what EEO is and also about affirmative action. And then last, I want you to be able to be familiar with some tools that may help you at your job to foster a cohesive workplace. The American workforce is changing. For an example, today there are nearly 50% of all workers are women. However, in 1962, only 20% of all workers were women. The pool of younger workers is decreasing, and the average age of workers is rising. More and more people are working longer in life. Number one, because some people love their jobs. They like to work. Or the recession was horrible on their retirement funds. And also, we're living longer and we're staying healthier. However, by the year 2020, minorities will constitute more than half of the new entrants into the United States workforce. So as you can see, our workforce is changing. So what is diversity? Well, once again, I went to dictionary.com, and the definition of diversity is the state of differences between individuals. It's as simple as that, differences. People differ on all kinds of traits, both seen and unseen. Some differences are concealed intentionally. Why? A person may have a health issue that doesn't relate to their job, and if it doesn't relate to their job, legally, you do not have to share that with an employer. I want to show you this picture and have you think, is this a bias? In today's world, or in any world, oftentimes teenagers believe that adults stereotype and that we discriminate against them. But where do we draw the line between good sense and inappropriate or discrimination? What do you think? There are many types of diversity in the workplace. So think for a minute. We've already talked about diversity goes beyond race. What are some differences? For an example, we've talked about gender. How about religion? How about age? How about our language or an accent? I lived in Florida for a few years. The southern accent there was so strong. Initially, for me, that accent was like nails on a chalkboard. I had a really hard time of not thinking negative thoughts when I heard that southern drawl. How about height and weight? As a society, we're getting much larger. What about sexual orientation? We hear in the news a lot about gay people being able to legally get married. What about education? If a person has a high school diploma or if a person doesn't have a high school diploma. What about a person who has a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree? I worked with this wonderful woman the other day, and she was in her 70s. Not only does she have her bachelor's, she has her master's degree. She brought me in her portfolio of accomplishments, I was so impressed. That portfolio was at least 3 inches thick. What about our job titles? Look at all the differences there. If your job title is assembler, and then your job title is supervisor, the different skills. What about the differences if you work in a union or a non-union environment? There can be some differences in how you can communicate in a union environment. I want to share with you a quick story. I was doing some training in a union plant one day, and during our lunch break, I was talking to the employees, just wanting to get them to know them. You know, how about your families? Where do you live? What do you do? And when the bell blew and it was time to go back from work, the employee looked at me and he said, "I've got 10 more minutes." And I was like, "Really? The bell just blew. Don't we have to go back?" He said, "No, you talk to me during my break. I get 10 more minutes." That was a union environment that I was not used to. True story. Some of the other differences in a workplace are if you're part-time or full-time. How about if you're first shift, second shift, or third shift? Whoa, I have seen a lot of conflict there. Marital status, and then also political affiliation. There are so many differences in our workplace, and it is very important to be aware of those differences. I really hope by being aware of these differences, it can improve our understanding of those who we work with and work for. I'm hoping this awareness can create a work environment that allows everyone to feel valued. I also hope that this awareness may enhance companies' ability to do business in our global economy. We live in such a world that it is very easy to do business in another country, or purchase our supplies from another country, or have our customers in another country. Diversity awareness is critical. It also, I believe, can help reduce conflict in the workplace. Companies that provide equal opportunities to all of their workers can select, interview, screen, and hire the most qualified workers. To me, that's the key, the most qualified workers. Diversity awareness may also increase retention rates. It is extremely expensive when people are hired to do a job and leave within the first 6 months. If a workplace feels uncomfortable, if a person feels like they're being discriminated against, they may just leave. Diversity awareness can reduce complaints, and it also may reduce grievances. Not to mention, it is the right thing to do. And then also, it's the law. I have a little background in HR, so I know just enough about these 2 laws to be dangerous, but I am going to give you a little bit of background in the Equal Employment Opportunity Law and then also affirmative action. So what is equal employment opportunity? This law addresses unfair treatment because of the following: unfair treatment because of race or color, national origin. So my daughter-in-law, she's a little Irish, and that's her national origin, and she really gets picked on because she's Irish. She has curly red hair, and I won't say her last name, but it's very Irish. It's all in good fun in our family. However, if she's treated different in the workplace because of it, that is against the Equal Employment Opportunity Law. When I found this statistic, I was really surprised. This law addresses unfair treatment because of age. Do you know that that age starts with 40 years old? Yikes. How about religion? When I grew up, I am ashamed to say that my family said, "You don't speak to Catholics." What? We felt that Lutherans and Catholics, we didn't mix. However, in the workplace, we have to mix. We have to work together, regardless of our religion. Equal opportunity also includes sex, and also includes pregnancy, and then also disability or genetic information. So this covers a lot of possible issues, and if an employee feels that they are being treated unfairly, it's important to take a look at this law, but what's more important is to address it with your employer. The next federal law that I want to briefly talk about is affirmative action. Affirmative action is for federal contractors and subcontractors. Affirmative action must be taken by covered employers to recruit and advance qualified minorities, women, persons with disability, and covered veterans. I want to give you websites that will show you more information about these laws. Remember I said, I know about this much about those laws, just enough to be dangerous. However, if you want to learn more about EEOC, go to their website. It's eeoc.gov. Also, if you want to learn more about affirmative action, you go to their website, the DOL, departmentoflabor.gov, and type in then affirmative action. Both websites are very informative and very current, and I thought interesting. I want to talk about the changing faces of our workplace. Remember earlier I said how many women now are in the workplace and how many older people are in the workplace? Well, when I found this information on the website, I was amazed. So I want to talk to you about this. So think about if we shrunk the entire Earth's population to 100 people with the existing human ratios remaining. So we're going to shrink the Earth down to only 100 people with the same human ratios. It would look something like the following. There would be, of that 100 people, there would be 57 Asians, 21 Europeans, 8 Africans, and 14 people from North and South America. I wish the study would have broken those countries down. However, it did not. The Earth would also have 52 female, there's more women, and 48 men. We would have 89 of those 100 would be heterosexual, and 11 would be homosexual. 6 of those 100 people would possess 59% of the entire world's wealth. 6. All 6, however, would be from the United States. 80 of those 100 would live in substandard housing. Wow. 7 of that 100 would not even be able to read. 50 from that 100 would suffer from malnourishment. 1 person would be near death. 1 person would be near birth. Only 1 of that 100 would have a college education. Only 1 would own a computer, and 8 of those 100 would be collecting SSI, or Social Security Disability. In America, we used to be called the melting pot. However, now we are being referred to as vegetable soup. You might think, vegetable soup, what are you talking about? The melting pot theory of American society has evolved. Now we want to see the differences, and we clearly can see the differences, and we also want to embrace and learn about those differences. However, there are some challenges of our vegetable soup theory. Those differences can interfere with our ability to support each other sometimes our ability to trust and respect each other, and then sometimes it may be challenging to effectively work together. Because of those differences, you can easily see where some stereotypes may happen. Those differences may sometimes cause conflict. Can you imagine the challenges of communicating with people of different languages? How about if I spoke this presentation in Spanish to you? How much would you be able to understand? I can't speak Spanish, but yet it's something important to think about. How about technology? There are so many people in our world, and this always amazes me, that have not ever touched a computer, even here in Wisconsin, and who do not want to even touch a computer ever. So technology is changing at a pace that's so rapidly, yet those changes, those differences alone, can present challenges in the workplace. Our vegetable soup world can cause challenges when we're hiring and interviewing people as well. Can we hire the most qualified person, and yet, does that person speak English? There's a video that I want you to watch, and it's a video about an interview. I want you to listen to the man who's being interviewed and think about these two questions while you're watching this. If you were the person doing the hiring, what would you do? Would you hire him? Why or why not? And then also, was the applicant biased? Why or why not? So once again, think of those two questions while you watch this video.
Felix?
Yes.
Hi, Craig.
Hey, how you doing?
Nice to finally meet you. I'm glad you found your way back here.
They gave me great directions at the front desk.
Oh, good. Well, your qualifications were outstanding. There's a lot of people anxious to meet you.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, good. I saw in your resume, did you go to Caswell College?
Yeah. Are you an alumnus too?
Yep. The Caswell Cats. Yeah. I had a lot of good times on that campus.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really felt at home in that community.
Yeah, so did I. It looks like you picked up some valuable experience with your last job. Good. Well, as you know, we're looking at a number of candidates, and you probably also know that your specific programming skills are in short supply. But you've had great training. We really wanted to see you first, and being a Caswell Cat can't hurt.
Oh, that can't hurt, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm looking at several different opportunities, but I'm very interested in this interview too.
Oh, good. Well, the successful candidate will be working with Marla Selborn. You'll meet her later.
I'm going to report to her?
Oh, yeah. I'm just the tour guide today.
Huh.
Yeah, it's her department. She does the hiring. Whoever gets the job will be working quite extensively with her.
Okay.
Nervous?
No, not actually.
Oh. Well, good. Interview day can be a little nerve-wracking. But with your qualifications, I'd say you don't have anything to worry about.
Great.
Marla really needs someone with your set of skills, you know?
Uh-huh.
This is training. We like to keep the employees up to date on the latest technologies and so forth.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. Marla's work center is it's all the way across the building. That's where we're headed. Okay. After you meet with her, I'll give you a proper tour, okay?
Great.
All right. Well, you know, it's funny. When I first started to work here, I was so nervous. I spent 20 minutes up on the 5th floor before I realized that Human Resources was on the 3rd floor. That's why I like to give this tour myself, you know?
Yeah. Oh, wow. This is a larger company than I initially wanted to work for. I like that small family type of environment, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I mean, even though we're big, we try to be family-oriented. You know, there's a lot of good people who work here. Yeah. Hey, Wes, I want you to meet our senior VP for this section, right?
Great.
Wesley Jordan, this is Felix Mason. He's interviewing for the position in product development.
Oh.
It's great to meet you.
Yes, well, it's good to meet you, too. Look, I don't mind telling you that we have been searching high and low to fill that position. It's kind of tough finding qualified, talented young people like yourself. So I hope everything works out. Look, if you need anything at all, don't hesitate to check with Craig here. He's a good man. You stick close to him.
All right.
See you, Wes. Let's go on down to processing, all right?
So, he's really a top guy here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he came in about 7 years ago to run a third of the company. There's only 3 VPs in the whole outfit.
Things must be kind of tough, huh?
What?
There's just a lot of different types of people working here, you know?
Yeah, it's what makes this company so successful. People like to work here. Anyway, this is our area, Human Resources. When we're done, I'll take you over to Marla's office, and you'll do your interview with her there. And, Marla, I was just talking about you. This is Felix Mason.
Oh, of course. Hi, Felix. It's very nice to meet you.
Hi.
Well, I thought I'd bump into you guys here.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. And so did you answer the question? Would you hire him? Some students, when I've taught this class, have said they really needed his skills. They had looked a long time. Some people have said yes, and they would see how it went. But on an average, the majority of my students have said no. Because of his biases, they felt he would not be a good fit in their organization. The next differences that I want to talk about are all the different generations in our workplace. Statistics will tell us no time in history have we ever had 5 distinct generations in the workplace. One of your handouts, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, will give you some of the differences. We have millennials. That's even a hard word to say. So if you were born between 1977 and 1992, you're considered a millennial. How about Generation X's? If you were born between 65 and 1976. There are so many people that fall within the baby boomer generation that this document has broken them off into 2 different groups, the older boomers and the younger boomers. This is interesting that they have called the older generation, the people who were between the ages of 67 and 75, the silent generation. I was like, until I saw this source, I had never heard of the silent generation. But then also think of the GI generation. Those are the people that were born between 1936. They're around the age of 76 to 80 years old. Would you find them in the workplace? I know of many workplaces that have employees that are in that generation. So think of those different generations and think about this funny little cartoon as well. The dad says, "Hi, sweetie, how was school today?" And the little girl says, "You can read all about it on my blog, Dad." The big difference in communication between our generations. So look at this handout and look at your generation. What is your generation's work ethics and values? Do you agree? What does your generations typically think of work? Do you agree? What this handout also talks about is what are your work ethics and values? And it will show you what the different generations typically think about their work ethics and values. I know I'm a baby boomer, and they say that our work ethics is that we're workaholics. To be honest with you, sometimes I am. I try super hard not to be. We question authority. Ask my husband. He says I question everything. For the different generations, they ask them the question, work is. Well, for the veterans, for them, work was an obligation. Yet for Generation X, work is a difficult challenge. Work is a contract. For Generation Y, work is a means to an end. It talks about the different leadership styles. It talks about the different ways that people like to communicate and interact with each other. I hope you spend some time and go over this handout and keep it in your toolbox, so to speak, because in your next job, if you're working with some baby boomers and you cannot understand why they're not answering your text, well, if you don't realize that baby boomers like to be talked to face to face, text may be foreign. It might be like a foreign language for some baby boomers. So they want you to get up, walk down the hall, come in and see them. Don't just send them a text. But vice versa. A baby boomer needs to understand your generation's communication style, so hopefully, eventually, they'll learn to text. The next set of differences that I want to talk about is our personalities. When I found this information, I thought it was really important to share with our presentation about diversity. I know that people's personalities is not as black and white as being an introvert or an extrovert. However, look at the differences of those 2 personalities. Most of us fall someplace in between. An introvert are typically seen as an outlier and sometimes as a problem person. So if you're really, really quiet, if you like to work by yourself, if you don't like to be disturbed or work in teams, keep that in mind And yet, oftentimes, that is not true at all. Typically, an introvert is passed over also for leadership positions. If a person is really quiet, are they going to be able to lead a department? Introverts are most alive when they are in quieter environments. Typically, they're not shy, they just function better and gain more energy with solitude. So think of those personalities as an introvert. However, I wanted to share this slide with you. Look at some of the famous introverts in our world, or who have been in our world. Albert Einstein, Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, was an introvert. J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. You'd have to be an introvert, I feel, to author that many books, right? Abraham Lincoln. Thinking of the famous introverts and how successful that they have been. Think of the challenges between working with introverts and extroverts. Our culture admires the person of action over the person of contemplation. Groups typically follow the most charismatic person in the room. This may result in groupthink. If you have a dynamic leader, he's very outspoken or she's very outspoken, it's really easy for a lot of people to follow them and to think like they think. On the other hand, an introvert may remain quiet rather than disrupt the uniformity of the crowd. I have a case study that I want us to think about. You should have a copy of this in your handouts. However, I'll read it for you as well. An employee of the United States company was sent to Costa Rica to learn the operations in a satellite company for a month. When she arrived, she was scheduled to meet with a project manager at 9 a.m. the next day. However, she had to wait a half hour for them to show up. The Costa Rican employees did not apologize or think anything of being late, which upset her so much that after the meeting, she went to the head of the operations in Costa Rica to complain about the incident, but found him unresponsive to her concerns. She regarded tardiness as a sign of disrespect and could not understand why no one was sympathetic to her matter. What should she do? Is this a cultural issue? So what do you think? Should she have complained? Is this a cultural issue? In the United States, if we're going to be late for a meeting, it is accepted that we'll call. Hey, I'm going to be about 30 minutes late, I'm sorry, or can we reschedule? However, when we're working in a different country, it's important to understand what their cultural expectations are. Could she have said something to her employer? Yes, but maybe she should not have complained to the Costa Rica employer. I want to give you next some tools that will help foster a cohesive workplace. Respect is non-negotiable. Once again, respect is non-negotiable. It's very important if you have conflict in the workplace to resolve it right away. You may need to talk to a supervisor or talk to HR, but resolve the conflict immediately. Another tool that I want you to think about is the importance of asking questions tactfully. Ask the person, how would they like to be treated? What's important to them? And once again, if need be, talk to your supervisor or talk to human resources and ask for some ideas and input. I want to share with you next some personal tools that will help with diversity not only in the workplace, but also in your personal life. How do you learn about different cultures? Well, first, you could just go visit the library. There's many books and many videos that you could check out. You could also invite a coworker who's of a different race or difference home for dinner. It's the best way to get to know someone over food. You could do some volunteer work. Almost every county needs volunteers as English is a second language or an ESL volunteer. You could take a class. Look at your area technical colleges and all the different classes they offer through their continuing ed program. You could attend an event. This is my favorite thing to do, like German Fest or Irish Fest. How about attending the Festival of Nations? I've actually gotten to attend this event, and it was so much fun. I could learn about so many different countries, about their food, about their clothing, about their recreation. So I feel that we all can learn, and hopefully these tools can help you as well. I'd like to end this presentation with this quote that I found. Just as a child is born without fear, so it is born without prejudice. Prejudice, like fear, is acquired. If you're a parent, think about that. If you work in the workplace, think about, have you acquired some prejudice? Next, I'd like to do a quick review of some of the information that we covered. So, what is diversity? Do you have it in your notes? Remember, diversity just means differences. Why is diversity awareness important at work? It can help people get along. To me, it's interesting, it's exciting to learn about others. Thinking of the different generations we've talked about, it's important to understand how people like to communicate. It's the right thing to do, and also remember, it is the law. So, talking about the law, what does EEO say about discrimination? Well, the EEO is Equal Employment Opportunity, and it says that discrimination is illegal. What are some of the differences in most workplaces today? Remember that slide? There are so many, from religion to culture to heritage to sexual orientation. Can you give me one example of an unintentional bias? List one difference between working with baby boomers and the millennium generation. Well, we've already said it, communication. Absolutely. Our work ethics may be different as well. I hope you've enjoyed today's presentation on diversity in the workplace. I hope it's given you an awareness of all of the differences that are in our work, but also in our social life as well. Thank you for attending, and have a great day.